Before we hit the road on today's podcast, I want to thank our sponsors. Without our sponsors, we couldn't do what we do to support the trucking industry. So thank you to Kenora Brims Global Cares, to Performance Food Group, Act One, and thank you to CH Robinson. They are supportive of our efforts in raising awareness about careers in the trucking industry and helping schools start programs. It's all about bridging the gap between industry and education and building up our future workforce. So thank you to our sponsors. Hey, we're so glad to have you all listen to NGT Talks today. Today, I have a special show because we're going to kind of do a recap of the American School Counselors Association, their annual conference, and the experience that we had there talking to all these school counselors about the trucking industry. So I want to welcome Lane, Josh, and Chuck, who were representing the Next Generation and Trucking Association. Really, they were just representing the trucking industry to all of these school counselors and having all these great conversations. So first of all, let's make some introductions. Lane, tell me about who you are and what you do and how you got into trucking.
Oh, great. Only a few questions to start with. So my name is Lane Williams. I'm the founder and CEO at Fusion Now. We are a digital marketing and recruiting firm that serves the trucking industry. So we help companies find truck drivers and help their fleets grow. I've been in trucking for about 12 years now, and I got into it right out of college. I actually thought I would be in food service. I loved people. I thought I would graduate with a degree and run restaurants. But there was a fleet manager from a trucking company that came in every weekend for 2 years and gave me his business card and said, well, hey, whenever you graduate, you should check out this company. And I held on to that card for 2 years, checked it out. I interviewed for an operations intern and a driver recruiter. Luckily, I got the driver recruiter job. I don't think I'd be cut out for operations. And that's where I got my career started. Thought I would do it for a year, build my resume. And here we are 12 years later. Running a business, helping support trucking companies still. So I still love it. Got in my blood, can't get out.
Yes, and a founding member of NextGen Trucking and supporter. Thank you for what you do for us. I love your story. I actually have been in trucking for 12 years as well. So we got started right around the same time. That's pretty awesome.
I love it.
Chuck, let's hear from you. Tell me about you and how you got into trucking.
Well, I got into it a little longer than 12 years ago. I got into it back in 1974. And I'd always loved trucks and the idea of trucking. When I was a little boy, I was introduced to it kind of through my parents who had a business. They were importing flowers out of Florida, and I got a real dose of it and took to it like a duck took to water, much to my parents' chagrin. Was fascinated by it. And as soon as I was 21 years old, I got into it by, nobody would hire me because I didn't know anything, and ended up buying a truck with a contract and kind of learned on the fly, which you could do back 50 years ago. And I got the opportunity to build a company that it was a light asset brokerage company. It was the largest in Canada, the oldest in Canada, and I think around number 17 in the United States, called Traffics, and rode with that for 40 odd years. And I sold out 2 years ago. And now I collect antique trucks, and I do a weekly podcast, Rates and Lanes, which supports the trucking industry. We talk to owner operators and drivers and small fleet owners, and I mentor people in the industry and get involved wherever I can just to give back. That's really important to us.
Yes, and we appreciate you, Chuck. This was your second year at the School Counselors Association conference, and you do a great job representing trucking to in educating school counselors. So thank you.
Thank you for letting me comment, because it's a real passion of mine.
Yeah, we can all tell with your enthusiasm. Josh, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into trucking.
Yeah, so I've got a little bit of a different story. I've been in trucking now going on 18 years, and I'm currently the director of recruiting at Grammer Logistics. We are a central Midwest, and from Corpus Christi all the way up past the New York Harbor along the border, the coastline, bulk hazmat chemical tanker company. So we deal with some pretty rough commodities. So entry level training is important. So once they get training and are ready to graduate to a little bit tougher product, we're here to take them on. I got into trucking because really because I answered a blind ad. I graduated college and I thought I had one career path in mind, and I graduated and went to work in that career for a couple of years and realized that looking around the room that I didn't fit. And so I wanted something different and answered a blind ad because I could read contracts, I could do math, and got my start at GMP Trucking down in South Carolina as a traffic clerk, learning to read tariffs, kind of the old school style of traffic clerking. From there, kind of moved around. Then I found myself in a billing department with a political science degree, and I realized this isn't for me either. But I love trucks. I loved working with the drivers, and so from there, my career path has led me back home to Kansas City, where now I get to really help drivers who have put in the time and have kept their credentials clean and had proper and accurate training that have led them to a moment in their career where they can definitely promote themselves into the world of being a tank truck driver. So that's really my story in a 2-minute nutshell.
Yeah, and you were part of the ATA Leads group this year. I don't know if you've officially graduated yet, but tell me, because you had a project, and now kind of with your project and what you did, it was about, hey, we've got to start promoting the trucking industry. And being at the school counselors convention was went right along with that project.
Oh, 100%. So I am a member of this year's lead ATA class. There's 14 other outstanding people in this class with me. I see our group, and I'm honored to realize that I got counted with this group of 15. Looking around, but being in that group, I'm the only representative out of the recruiting space. So I looking around the room, it's a program that if you haven't heard of it, I highly recommend. Take a look at it. Lead ATA. I believe the class for next year is just closed. But it's an annual class for upcoming leaders in trucking. But my group project, our group of 4 focused in on the under 21 apprenticeship program, realizing that we've got this great program in place. We haven't had a ton of support, and as by we, I mean we as trucking. Haven't had a ton of support to get into it. We had a lot of initial early support with it, and then as government does, threw in some unneeded and completely unnecessary red tape there at the end that really shut down a lot of interest in the program. So we weren't getting numbers into the program. And of course, if you have a pilot program, bottom line, you have to have numbers to test it and to show safety and to show that the program works. So my group's mission was really to figure out a way outside of saying just cut the red tape, because again, that's not easy. But how can we as trucking attract and retain more people into this industry? Because there's a lot of people that are interested in trucking. It's a lot more people that don't even think about it as a career option, because really up until 18 months ago, to be blunt, it really wasn't. You had to be 21 to drive a truck. But then there's that piece of it too. You think trucking, and the first question I always get when I tell someone I work in trucking is, "Oh, so you drive?" I don't drive. Full disclaimer, I've never driven a truck. I've never dispatched. I believe I've done every other job in trucking except for those 2. However, that's the other point. There are so many different jobs in trucking that we don't think about it as a career path. And so my group's mission was really try to figure out a way to arm high school counselors with information that they can take back to their kids to help them confidently pursue a career in trucking. How to say, hey, I want to do this, or hey, I never thought about that, but I'm really good at being a mechanic, or hey, I'm really good at exploring electronics, or I'm really good at these types of things, because whether we like it or not, trucks are changing too, and we're going to have more and more electronics coming in. So we've got to be able to have that next generation that's open to new technologies and new ideas, and challenge us. I'm going on 18 years in trucking, and I turn around and I see these new guys coming in. It's like, dang, he got so young. I realize I'm half, Chuck, I know you relate. We had this conversation. But it's like looking back, and I realize I'm halfway through my career, and I've been in recruiting for the last 10. Like, I want for me, when I'm done with my career, I want to say that I left this place a better place after me than the way it was when I found it. That's so important to me, and to get this next generation in. And I felt like when I called you and you said, hey, by the way, there's this conference in Kansas City, I'm like, that's it. That's it. That's where we can get this message out. No agenda, no anything other than saying, hey, trucking is an opportunity with so many different ideas, just to have that conversation. So yeah, it definitely fit right in with what we were trying to do. Very excited, made some great connections. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that here in just a bit. But yeah, it was a fantastic time to fit right into the program. And we do officially graduate coming up here in October at the ATA annual management event down in Nashville, Tennessee this year.
Absolutely. And I'll look forward to watching you graduate there. So this whole concept of career branding, Lane, you were there and you were talking about the positions and the roles and different things. Like, what was your perspective of the counselors and their interest level, or, in career branding in general? Like, what do you think about the whole experience?
I thought it was amazing, first off, but I think just it showed me in real time how important organizations like NextGen are, because everyone walked up and they're like, oh, trucking. But that's really where a lot of their knowledge stopped. And it wasn't anything to do with a lack of wanting to know. It was just due to a lack of exposure to really all of the things that are available here. So we had lines of people coming up waiting to talk. With us three there, we had two other folks from Fusion Now as well. And there were times that we were all involved in some really good conversations with people waiting to come up and talk to us. Everybody wanted to take information back, to give to their kids. And it was exciting to have that information to provide to them. It's like, hey, we have kids that are going through some tech programs. Oh, we have some really good information on diesel mechanics. And the questions of, well, they're going to be 18, they're not 21. They knew some of that, but being able to go in and talk about some other opportunities. And I learned a lot from Chuck and Josh there as well. Sitting there and being like, hey, these guys have a different approach or a different idea of how to address this. I'm going to steal a little bit of that and take it back into some of my conversations as well. But really just, it's not just trucking. Everyone is going after this population, this pool. We saw major airlines, and, one major airline had 2 booths there because they really wanted to capture this and really get it in front of people. So yeah, it was just amazing to see the hunger from these counselors really wanting to give their kids options beyond just a traditional path of high school, college, and then into some other thing. But I was even able to have some conversations about, trucking, even with that type of career path. If you do want to go and get a college degree, an engineering degree, a marketing degree, there's a home for those folks here as well.
Yeah, one of my favorite brochures, because Fusion Now creates a lot of our brochures. And one of the favorite ones I have that you created for us was about engineering jobs and IT jobs within trucking, because we were talking to so many students that were like, I want to be an engineer. So like, I'm going to move on from talking to you. And I'm like, wait, see this truck here. Somebody engineers and designs this, and it is so important that they know that they are welcome to consider our industry as a career path, because we've got jobs, we've got amazing technology, there's so much that we can do. The other thing that I think is so interesting is there is an organization that exhibits every year at the convention. It's the National Gemologists Society of America or something. I'm like, if the gemologists are are exhibiting at this show, the trucking needs to be exhibiting at this show. I mean, we've got 8 million jobs, right? So it is such a fun space to be able to promote trucking careers. And like you said, these counselors aren't just always promoting college now. So we've got to give them some tools to be able to say, these are good careers. So Chuck, this was your second year. Tell me some of the highlights you had, or have you learned anything from last year to this year about the conference?
Well, first of all, I think Kansas City was a much better venue than Atlanta. Much more preferable for, just for amenities, for getting to, and they're Midwesterners, and I found the people very receptive at both conferences, but especially at this one, there was a hunger that those counselors and teachers had for their students. And it was wonderful to open their eyes to what trucking could bring to their students. It was just a great experience. It's wonderful when you're trying to sell or promote something that is wanted and needed, rather than trying to convince somebody how their students should get into trucking. There was no convincing needed from anybody at our table. All people wanted was, how can we get on? How can we get involved? And I think one of the big sales pitches is the fact that young people that aren't university or college material can leave high school and get a job in trucking, maybe working on a dock at first, and that's the big one as a segue into driving, or working in the shop, or working in working in the office. As everybody, I think Ling was saying, we need all these people for all sorts of different jobs, from tech to engineers, you name it. Driving is what sticks out, but the fact that people aren't saddled with hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt for a degree that they may never use. This way, they come out of school, they earn while they learn. By the time they are 23 years old, they can have enough money for a down payment for a house. I don't know of very many other jobs that can offer that.
Yeah, that's so true. I was talking with one of our members. They're a food distributor out of Illinois last week, and they have there are companies that will let under 21-year-olds drive, staying in state, and he said that his driver, who's 19, made $71,000 last year.
There you go.
Can you imagine, as a 19-year-old living in Illinois, in rural Illinois, making $71,000? Like, what do you even do with that?
Exactly. And there are a hell of a lot of professionals that graduate university that make that their first year, but they've got, they may have $200,000 in debt that they have to cover. They may have more. So what a head start for a young person.
Absolutely. It's such a great career field. And that's why we're there. That is why we're there. And that's just to career brand the trucking industry as a great positive career choice. Josh, I would love to hear your thoughts. Like, what do you think that we need to be doing as an industry? What did you take from this conference that you've learned and that we can apply?
Yeah. So the biggest two things for me from the conference, this country is blessed to have so many high school counselors and middle school counselors and elementary counselors that are legitimately concerned about their kids. Mm-hmm. The number of conversations that I spoke to these counselors, and they said, oh, I have this one person who would be perfect for this, or I have this one person over there that I can't figure out what to do, and I'm trying to find something, or they graduated 2 years ago and they need an option. The relationship that our school counselors have with their kids, the ones that are legitimately concerned, really have an opportunity to make a difference. We were talking a couple of days ago, I was in that generation of, we were basically, led down the path of you're going to go to college or else society looks a different way at you, which thankfully we've turned from that. We realized that college is not for everybody and there's lots of options. But these counselors, the concern they had, the compassion, I mean, they're definitely in their right place in life. And then the number of counselors that said, "Oh, maybe I should drive a truck." I'm like, well, come on, let's go. That
Multiple people.
Yeah.
But I'd say from an industry perspective, again, I'm going to challenge every company that's out there listening to this. Our behavior on the roads that our professional drivers lead with is critical. And those behaviors are things like giving enough following distance, or tailgating, or cutting people off, or not using your mirrors, or using your mirrors and being a courteous, polite, professional truck driver. Pay attention to what we're doing out there. And by being patient and being professional, that's how we're going to attract more people into this industry. The statement that I've really been bouncing around in my head a lot here recently is, I watch a lot of videos on the social channels where these guys are like, who was right? This driver or this driver? And the thought that I have now is it better to be right, or is it better to get home safely to your family?
Bingo.
And I'm I want to get home safely to my family. And my challenge to my drivers in my fleet and every other driver that listens, every other transportation professional out there, because we drive too. We might not drive the trucks, but we drive our cars too. But do your actions represent a behavior of welcoming and being inclusive and being open to younger people coming in with different perspectives and different ideas and different talents, different skill sets? Because that's what we need as an industry. This industry is built on the back of innovators. We need that next group to come in. And if we don't welcome and embrace that, we've got a whole fleet of technology companies that want to make this thing into an AI industry. And, trucking in my mind is still a people first business. We're going to need people. We need to be open to that. So that's really my challenge to the industry is, what where are you going to take this? Are you going to turn your back on people who are asking, hey, I want to drive a truck. Hey, I want to get into trucking. Or are we going to be open? So yeah, come on in. I might not have this job for you, but I got something over here we can learn and segue and help to educate and bring, keep, and endorse and embrace people who want to be here in trucking.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I love that, because part of what we need to do is make the industry a better place for the next generation. As we promote our careers, we got to make sure it's a great career to have. So, in a great
100%,
industry.
and we're all involved in it. And as a truck driver, my goal was always to keep everybody safe, not just myself, but the minivan in front of me with 4 little kids in it. I needed to keep them safe as well. That was part of my job, and that's part of being professional.
Yep. I love that. I think that's a great point. Like safety first, right? Safety first. And if we can convey to people, to educators that as an industry, that's what we're about, I think that's going to get that respect for them to be able to promote us in good conscience to their students as a career. So
yeah, we have to do it ourselves. The industry has to, I'm always on people's case and social media. I will private message them and say, hey, we don't need this. We have a hard enough time. There's a bunch of us trying to make things better, and we don't need you doing this so you can get likes. You are destroying everything we are trying to build for younger people. If you don't like this industry, then get the hell out. The rest of us love it.
Yeah, we do love it. We do love it. Lane, tell me about your experience at the conference, and if you gained anything new, or if you had any insights into the school counselors and promoting trucking.
Yeah, one thing I learned actually was from conversations that Chuck and Josh had with folks, and I was listening some, and to kind of echo what Josh was saying, people, if they want to be in this industry, that's a first step. And, I guess my challenge where he had his own would be, find homes for people. I can tell you right now, in my experience in the industry so far, I've worked with people and probably hired some people as well that just needed a job, but didn't really want to be there for the mission, and to help promote. And if you have someone that has that need, has that want, has that drive, can you find a spot for them working in the yard? Can you find a spot for them where, maybe in 3 or 4 years, they do want to go over the road and drive and get that experience, but can you use them before that? Can you help support them and they can support you? And that's just going to help your company grow organically as well. Also a big takeaway too is trucking is everywhere. And we all know that because we're in it. But, saying that, 70% of our goods are transported by truck is lost on a lot of people. So being able to talk about that and realize how many people don't understand it. But also several counselors came up, at least 3 that I talked to, who either were drivers in the past or their husbands were drivers and they rode with them. And so there are a lot more proponents out there than I think we realize to help push our industry forward. And I think conferences like this, events like this can help us engage them, light them on fire again to say, hey, this is really a good opportunity. And I think we can do more too to educate people on what Josh was mentioning about the AI push and the artificial everything. People ask that question, and that was something even school counselors were asking, is like, hey, if we're promoting this industry for some of our kids, is it really going to be around in 2 years and 3 years and 5 years? And all of us there were able to truly give our opinion, which I believe we're all aligned that it's not going to go away. The need for that people element isn't going to go away anytime soon that I can foresee. So yeah, just I'm fired up, to kind of get out there and start talking about it more, because we get so siloed into what's in front of us,
right,
and into what box do I need to check off today. But we need more people. We need more good people, more young people, more talented people to use whatever we're doing here as their floor and to go a lot further.
Yeah, it's so fun to do what you all did. Did people ask about autonomous vehicles?
Oh yeah,
They did.
A lot of people. I found a lot of people asked about them. Well, aren't these jobs going to? We understand these jobs are going the way of the dodo bird. And when I explained the real truth of it, saying, well, there's at no time soon is somebody going to drive a truck to Interstate 70 in St. Louis and get out of the seat, take the brake off, climb out of the truck, and that truck is going to go to Chicago by its own. That on itself, that's not going to happen anytime in the near future. I don't know if it'll ever happen. The technology is there. They could probably do it, but as soon as there's the first major crash, that the lawyers are going to be all over it and it's going to stop. So there's been billions and billions of dollars invested by venture capitalists and others in this concept, and it's being utilized to make truck driving better and safer. But nobody's going in the bunk of their truck while the truck is going down the road. That's not happening. They're using that technology now in enclosed yards, railway yards and shipyards. It is being utilized, but not on the open road.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. And we just created an infographic about autonomous vehicles. So I'll be excited to share that at the next time that we can share that, because the last conference I was asked about autonomous vehicles and, hey, are we even going to need drivers in the future? So, and the answer is yes, right?
Of course.
Did you have any other conversations, Chuck, that at this conference that really stood out to you, or was there anything in particular?
I think it was the teachers that had struggling students that were very similar to me as a young person, misfits, and they just didn't fit in anywhere. And trucking, I'm not saying we want everybody's misfits. I'm not saying that, but give us people that want to learn, okay, that want to come to work, that will show up for the job interview and dress and act appropriately, okay? If they show up for an interview with their pants halfway down their backside and a dirty, one of those dirty undershirts on, they're not getting a job. Nobody's going to trust them. They've got to sell that trucking company to give them their first job. Okay, as Josh said a few times during that weekend, and he said it last night on the podcast I was with him on, it's that first job that is so important. And they've got to learn to sell. And I talked to the guidance counselors about that, about teaching the people how to present themselves in front of a would-be boss.
Absolutely. That's so important. That
Yeah.
is so important. Um, so, in closing, I mean, we're getting close to finishing our podcast. And is there anything else that any of you thought of, and anything that you wanted to share with your experience and what we're doing, how we're trying to reach those people who are influencing education?
I'm going to speak first. First of all, I want to go next year again because I had so much
Right?
fun.
Good.
Put me down because that was fun.
You're invited.
Thank you. And sometimes I have to ask for an invitation, but it was great. And the way I look at it, really, if we can go to these conferences and save one kid and turn their life around, we've done our job.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just one. And there's so much opportunity there that people don't realize. And again, as Lane said, as an industry, we've done a really lousy job conveying this message to the public.
Yep. From my side, I would say, anyone listening, get involved with NextGen, because it's a real refreshing experience from really even just this one event that I've been to. Lindsey, put me on the list for the next one too, please. But I was able to, come back into my other day-to-day work with kind of a renewed sense of, okay, this is bigger, than sometimes we realize. So as much perspective as you can get that and get your people exposed to that as well, because I think it may impact some decision making for everyone in a very positive way.
Yeah, love that. Thank you.
Yeah, and from my point of view, this is a fantastic event. But again, I like to challenge the industry, and I'm gonna do that here as well. But all the companies listening out there, take care of your backyard. By that, what I mean is take pride in your facilities, take pride in your communities, reach out to your local schools. Hopefully you've already joined the NextGen in trucking. If you haven't, take advantage of that. There's lots of great resources out there, but make yourself available to the school counselors. Open up your terminal for field days. Again, it doesn't have to be anything complicated, but everybody loves to pull that air horn. Let people come through and pull an air horn on a brand new truck before you start.
That is fun, right?
I'm in my 40s and I still love to do that whenever I can. I mean, it's like the kid in all of us. I mean, but just take pride in your community. That's where we are. There's so many trucking companies, and we're a network of small companies, right? All across this country, all across North America, even. We're a network of small carriers that are cornered up in our communities. We need to take pride in trucking, take pride in doing what we do. We keep our nation supplied. We kept our nation going through COVID and 100 years prior. We're going to keep it going for another forever. So, own it. Be prideful of what we do. Don't hide behind the fact that you work in trucking. It's a very, very, incredible industry to be a part of. And, just to be a part of it and to have this in my story now is just, incredible. So, own it, reach out, say hi, ask your school what you can do to help. Just do those little types of things. And that's how we get that next generation looking toward us for which way we're going to go.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And it is a fun thing to get to do. And I appreciate you all because saying that, I mean, the way that we fund these types of events is through our organization and through funding from our members. And so thank you, because we want to do more of these events, but it does cost money to be there and to exhibit and to have these conversation opportunities. But it's worth it. It's what we're here for. It's our mission. We love it. And so thank you for what you all did in order to represent the industry. For us at NextGen, we've got some really great events coming up the next few months. We've got FFA, which has 70,000 students that go to this event, and we get to present there this year about starting trucking programs in schools. We'll be at the National Career Academies Coalition, and we're presenting there about starting supply chain and logistics and commercial driving programs within high schools. And then at the end of the year, we'll be at the Association of Career Technical Education, and our co-founder, Dave Dine, he actually is going to be up on stage with 5 other teachers, and he might win CTE Teacher of the Year. The National CTE Teacher of the Year We are up for like he won California CTE Teacher of the Year. Now he run Region 5, and now we'll be at Nationals in December. So lots of good stuff happening, putting a good emphasis on the trucking industry, but we couldn't do it without your support. Thank you all for representing the industry. I hope that you enjoyed every moment, and just thank you for what you do in making the industry a better place.
Well, and thank you for what you do. You know what? None of this would be possible without you and all the effort you have put into making this happen. You know, you're changing lives. You really are.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, but I couldn't do it without the support of everybody. So we appreciate you all. And if you would like to contact Lane, Chuck, or Josh, their contact information will be in the show notes. Thank you, and we'll have a great rest of your day.